GM. I hope you're all doing well. Today is Tuesday, and that means one thing. It is time for a Super Champs Space. My name is Kaleno. I will be your host for today, and we have an absolutely stacked panel today. So, very excited for this conversation. We're going to talk about IP building. Is it the number one utility for NFTs? It's going to be spicy. I hope you're all coming with the controversial takes because me love a good debate. But Super Champs, how are you guys doing?
Doing
Omar, you just remuted yourself. Omar, you're struggling with the unmute button here, or you're rugging. One of those. I don't know which one it is yet. All right, we are having a little bit of a struggle with Omar. If you unmuted, what's up? He's gone. All right, so we're just gonna check with the other people on stage. We have Play Amber. How are you?
Hey, Colano, what's up? It's John. Great to be here. Yeah, just big fan of what Omar and the team are building. It's great to see Way here as well. I was hanging out with Co Museum on a space yesterday. Just love what they're building. So yeah, really excited for this this topic. And you know me, I'm definitely going to have some like different takes for this one.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want, you know. So always happy to have you on a conversation. Omar seems to be back. How are you doing, my man?
I'm back. I'm back. Got rugged, unfortunately. My mute button couldn't figure out whether it should be on or off. It kept vacillating between the two modes, but hopefully it's working now. But I just want to say, GM, everyone, really appreciate everyone joining, and you know, welcome to all the other panelists as well. And very excited for this topic today because I know with the amazing group we have here, everyone's going to have a real point of view on this. So excited to get into it.
Yeah, thank you. Glad you could manage to unrug yourself as well. We're glad to have this conversation. So, yeah, very excited for what people will have to bring to this discussion. Let's pass it around. We've got Valeria Games. How are you guys doing?
GM, it's Hillel behind the Valeria account. Thank you for having me, Kilano. And yeah, I mean, looking forward to the convo.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Up next, Neo Tokyo. How are you doing?
Hey, this is MHL, constant member at Neo Tokyo. Looking forward to chatting with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. And then we've got three more people. Co-Museum, how are you?
Yo, yo, yo. Speaking on behalf of Co Museum, my name is Wei, and we're doing good. We're doing good. GN to those that are in the Asian time zone. And yeah, excited for this space, man.
Yeah, good to hear you. What time is it for you right now?
It is 11:08 p.m., so not too bad.
All right, that's still bedtime soon. All right, let's pass it around. ArcX, how are you doing?
What's up, guys? Super excited to be here. Yeah, great panel. Been on with Co-Museum and Neo Tokyo before. You guys are killers. And yeah, really excited for this. Couldn't be a better topic.
I agree with you. It's a great topic. And then up next, from Co-Museum, we have Wei is the same person. So all good. We've done the round of greetings, but so we are gonna start with the conversation. But before we do that, if you can show some support, that would be much appreciated. Give the space a like, a retweet. If you have any question as well, or any hot take, I guess, drop them in the comment section, which is on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. Now, as the host of the day, Super Champ, obviously you're going to get the first question. But for everyone else on stage, just get ready because this question is coming to every single one of you. And the question is, how are you approaching IP building with your own project? I think it's going to be interesting because all of you here are building completely different things. So very curious to hear that thought process for every startups on the panel. So Omar, starting with you, how are you approaching IP buildings for Super Champs?
Yeah, so this is definitely a topic near and dear to our hearts. Our team came out of Disney as well as Electronic Arts and Zynga and other, game companies where we had the privilege of either building original IP or working with, AAA IP, ranging from Harry Potter to Marvel to Star Wars. And so when we started Joyride as a company and began building Super Champs, from the beginning, the reason we started our company and this whole endeavor was because we saw the potential for not just building a game, but building an IP with Super Champs that could take advantage of all the tools that Web3 has to offer to bind a community together behind an IP that they care about for the long term, right? Hopefully yielding an even more powerful, long-lived, durable IP than we've seen in the past. And so to do that, we have from the beginning, focused on Super Champs as a project that can have a rich story world in which the games are set and built. And so we went to great lengths to design Super Champs Academy as the place where Super Champs live and train, where the mobile games then can be set, because every mobile game is a synchronous action sports game and makes sense then relative to the story world that we designed. But I think, in sort of probably the biggest departure from how we've built in the past, we also launched an animated channel on TikTok and now also on YouTube to start telling the story of Super Champs even as we were building the games. And so the goal was to use YouTube, to use TikTok, to bring the universe to life and create immersion in the universe, to then build games that are being built by us and in the future built by partner studios using our tools to bring that universe to life for people, and to use Web3 assets from the token being launched by the Super Chance Foundation, to NFTs as a way of giving players ownership in that ecosystem and making them a part of it for the long term. And so today we have over, I think almost 600,000 subscribers now across TikTok and YouTube for our animated channel, which is at Superchamp Kigu, which follows the life of Kigu, a character at Superchamps Academy. And this is bringing the universe to life that all our mobile games are set in and will be set in the future, and has been a very systematic effort from us from the get-go. So we take IP building, really seriously as the core of what we're doing, underlying the games, underlying the animation, underlying the community.
Very interesting. A few things that stand out from what you're saying to me is the first thing, obviously, is the past experience. Obviously, working at Disney, you probably know a thing or two about IP. Disney is one of the most recognizable brands with many characters that we have all grown up with, right? And the second thing that I find interesting, I don't necessarily want to dwell on that right now. I will come back to you in a bit, but it's how you're focusing on other social media platforms to build the IP. And I think maybe Twitter is, I guess, not the place to build IP just due to the lack of visuals and content discovery over time. So very interesting start to the conversation here. I want to pass it around and I'll come back to you a bit later, Omar, on those questions. But up next, I've got Play Amber on my road right next to me. So John, same question to you. How are you thinking about the IP side of Play Amber? What are you doing to grow it? Just give me your insights. Pretty open question.
Yeah, great topic. So IP to us is many different things. We obviously have our first party games. That's IP, right? Digital content. So we're always looking to grow those games. And the purpose they serve is just finding new consumers, new players in terms of, top of funnel. So like last week, we had over 1 million new downloads of our games, which is great. So, that's an important piece of IP. We also have third-party games. That's also great IP. So we're just about to drop our game with Pixelmon on IMX. So, that's super important. Supporting other builders in the discoverability of their IP outside of Web3 when it comes to consumers. And then, of course, we have, MB, who is also an important piece of IP. And MB, on the one hand, is a gaming character. So we have three MB games already in the app stores. We have MB as a pet in our Roblox game. But as a business tool behind IP, MB is a kind of a data Trojan horse for us that is allowing players to attach a whole bunch of different data signals from games they play, games they don't play, ads they watch, ads they don't watch, what they have in their wallet, what they don't have in their wallet, brands they like, brands they don't like. So, at that level, the IP is also serving like a really important business goal for us, because all of that data helps us optimize yield across our whole gaming ecosystem. And then you've got I was just on a panel talking about the founder funnel. Then you've got like your founder's IP and brand. So that's always, constant work in development as a founder. And then there's the Play Amber IP and brand, and building that out so people understand, what Play Amber means and what that vision is. And all of those need to work together. So it's a full-time job doing all of that.
Yeah, no doubt it's a full-time job. And I want to ask you, you recently changed your personal PFP. I think you're in the audience somewhere. Yeah, I see you in the audience. And you have given up your conference chat photo for Play Amber on steroid, So how do you feel about the switch?
So that basically came from our community, right? Basically turning me into a meme, which is, which I love, right? Because that's all that's what we're here for, right? You're here to just build this together with your community. So, it's not that I didn't want to make it my MB. I love my my MB onesies, but the community just started to turn. They've been doing this for a while now, but it was basically a community request. So, and I loved it, right? So yeah, that's that's why it's now some like MB meathead.
Very nice. Yeah, I love it. It's a very strong one as well. So, was it drawn by the community or was it drawn by your team?
So the community helped curate it, but it was then drawn by the team.
Right, got it, got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, thanks for that little personal sharing here. All right, let's pass it around. We've got Valeria Games. I hope you guys doing well. Same question for you, Hilal. How are you approaching IP building through Valeria Games?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys already touched on it. The biggest thing is just content, right? Like you got to push a lot of content. Not really on Twitter, like you said. Twitter's not the best place to grow IP. Twitter's more of like community sort of. You make announcements, you let people know what's going on with your project. But stuff like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, that's where you want to be pushing your content. You got to build that out. You got to be consistent on those platforms. Yeah, I mean, personally, we've hired Matt Stefani. He's around the space now quite a bit. I mean, you see him with like Sam on those gaming spaces and stuff like that. He's grown, channels to like millions of followers, and he's been helping us with our social media on that side to just curate the perfect content to hit the algorithm and gain followers that way. So we've been building a lot on that side. But I think an underrated part of building IP, and it's something that we kind of lost over time in the Web3 space, is something physical, like some type of merch for people to purchase to get with the project. And we saw this really early on with just every NFT project at the beginning when they would mint, and then their first thing on the roadmap was like merch, and they would drop a T-shirt, and people would buy it. And it's underrated because even if you ask those people at that time, it's like once they purchase that shirt, they're still on like the high of, I just minted this project, I'm part of this community. They drop the shirt right away, they buy that shirt. Now they're super invested into the project in the sense that like that shirt comes to their house, they have it on. They're not going to sell their NFT anymore. Like it's another sort of step or like point of friction for them to actually sell their NFT because they have a T-shirt of the project too. Because now if they sell the NFT and they're not even part of the community anymore, and then they have the shirt feels kind of useless. And then once they buy one shirt, then they want to get all the shirts, then they want to collect all the merch, right? So I think something that we've kind of lost over time is when you have, I mean, yeah, you build IP through like the broader um, content that sees like millions of followers, but then you get those like diehard 100, 1,000, 10,000 fans. And if you can have merch for them that's around your IP, around whatever you're building, whether it could be like a collectible figurine type of Funko Pop thing, whatever it is, that is a lot more sticky. And then it keeps those people engaged with your IP over a long period of time.
It's interesting when you talk about merch because that was literally the number one thing on the roadmap in 2021. And guys, any projects out there, if you do merch, just do more than the basic black hoodie with the logo. That's all I'm asking. I'm just gonna put it out there. I've seen that too many times. I want a little bit more than a black hoodie. But yeah, definitely. I don't know how many NFT related T-shirts or hoodies I have. Probably like 3 or 4. I don't have that many, but I am attached to those. And also I would say I wear them very rarely. They are like special items that I only wear if I know I'm going to get some NFT MFers around me that will recognize the value of these t-shirts. So yeah, merch is always a good one. All right, let's pass it around. Same question for you guys at Co Museum. What I think will be interesting with you is that you're building something slightly different from the previous speakers here, with more focused on art, culture, and obviously the museum. So how are you guys thinking about IP with what you guys are building specifically?
Yeah, no, I think definitely we're a little bit different. So at Co Museum, basically, we believe that art belongs to the people. And the way that we give back this ownership is that we fractionalize these iconic artworks and cultural artifacts into what we call asset-backed collectibles. So think about it this way, right? Instead of buying a print of a Monet that you buy from a museum, just a beautiful piece of paper that you can hang on your wall. Now with Co Museum, you can buy that print of the Monet and you actually own the underlying Monet. Or instead of buying a statue of a Banksy, that just looks dope that you just put it in your, just put it on your cabinet or, in your house. Now with Co Museum, you can buy the statue of the Banksy and actually own the underlying Banksy. Right? So it's asset-backed collectibles. So for us as a product company, I think the first step that we kind of do actually is that we try to lean towards number one, not just building the brand of Co Museum, but kind of the the heart behind it, the spirit behind Co-Museum, right? Which is basically, we believe that art belongs to people, and we always call ourselves a cultural movement. So having a spirit like that, we kind of encourage, our holders and our community members to post more about us, and especially when they receive the asset back merch, right? Asset back collectibles, asset back merch. Like just recently, we just collaborated with Azuki and a fashion brand called Ambush. So basically, they made like asset back hoodies, asset back t-shirts. We fractionalized basically the world's most valuable skateboard, which is the Azuki Golden Skateboard, signed by Tony Hawk. And basically, what we did is that we made like T-shirts, with the picture of the golden skateboard at the back, but the ownership of the skateboard also inbuilt inside the hoodie, right? And we invested quite a lot in the packaging as well, and we are encouraging like our holders and our community members to kind of generate content, be like basically just film them unboxing it and rocking it as well. So I think that is something that we thought was really interesting in building the IP art. It's really like we're building it together with the community, but in a different way, right? Because they are not just consumer of the products, but we are trying to transform them into evangelists, right? Message and bastions of the company as well. And another tactic, I guess, that we kind of do that kind of helps us a lot as well is that, we ourselves don't really have like our own IP in the sense that, we're building like our own characters and stuff like that. But we collaborate with a lot of different, communities and brands, right? So example, for this drop, it's with Azuki, for our next couple of drops, we're working with, other, very recognizable Web3 IPs and even Web2 IPs as well, different fashion brands that you guys hear of as well. So I think that cross collaboration helps us expand our network as well, and definitely helps us, open up Co-Museum to a different audience, and hence, help us build the IP as well. So yeah, collaboration is one, and the other one is really creating a brand and creating products that, you kind of encourage your community and your holders to become basically evangelists for you as well. So basically community growth for the IP.
Yeah, I saw when when the gold skateboard merch or T-shirt came out recently. I thought that was a very smart move, both for Azuki and for you, with the tokenization of it. So very interesting approach here. Last but not least on this question, we've got Arkex. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts as well. You're a jewelry store effectively. So yeah, how do you think about IP for your own startup?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, love hearing what you guys are working on and the different approaches. I think, there's so much cool overlap here. But yeah, just to talk a little bit about ARC, we are the world's first AI jewelry design platform. So we're actually taking the DeFi playbook of your self banking and bringing that to the luxury space. So instead of actually going to the mall or going to these kind of overpriced jewelry stores, you can actually download our app and be your own jeweler. Our AI lets you design all types of different jewelry just within seconds. It's pretty cool. So yeah, within the first few minutes, you can actually become a fashion designer. And our goal is to really democratize a lot of the people come here for we heard about the Web3 gaming space, and obviously entertainment and the art space. All of these things coming here to actually kind of democratize and make these things more accessible, because the art world, for instance, has been traditionally very much gated by a small community in major cities, and same thing for luxury as well, and fashion. These are spaces that have been gate kept, and we believe that anyone can be their own jewelry designer, their own fashion designer. So that's really what we set out to build. And yeah, and just kind of coming back to the IP side of things, we have our own core IP, which we do try to has a very ethos in the luxury space. Definitely is a little bit more on the neutral side, because we really want to actually be a blank canvas for other people to come in and design their own collection. So you can kind of even going off of UCO Museum, like think of we try to think of ourselves as a gallery or museum, but in there, it's a more neutral space, but in there is like a infinite halls of jewelry collections and designs of what people are bringing their creativity into the space. So yeah, and actually letting, I think, our IP comes really is focused around enabling people and empowering people creatively. So all the stuff that we do, we have weekly design contests. We have actual physical galleries we do at shows and stuff, and we go to trade shows and we bring that presence out there. But people, it's really about that magic of once people realize that, hey, I can actually do something myself and not have to ask permission to be creative. That kind of, it's very abstract, but that idea, translating that, both in the design space and, in the physical space is what we're really trying to do. And then even in the web, on the Web3 side of things, we actually just launched last week a NFT PFP jewelry converter. So I know we were talking about merch a bit, but you can actually, you can do the hoodies and stuff. And by the way, Kill Museum, that hoodie thing, it sounds so freaking cool. So I actually want to talk to you more about that later. But yeah, this is not your mom's merch, so it's like you can actually instead of just a generic t-shirt or something, which is really cool for products. And we talked about how important that is for a product from the IP side to break into the physical space. But these are the ability to actually convert something. If you take your PFP and convert it into 18 karat gold pendant, like guess what, you're not selling your PFP. So it's a really cool way to cement yourself, and bring it into the real life and give it like some actual real value. And then doing drops with other Web3 brands. Last week we sold out a pendant drop with Vault Inu, which was really, really cool. Within 48 hours, we sold all of the pieces. So again, another really cool way that actually, to take these amazing Web3 brands and to try to, help them translate them into the luxury space.
Very interesting. I love how you're also thinking about collabs, which I think are one of the most powerful tools if used right. It's easy to overdo it with a collabs, but if done well, it's extremely powerful. Now,
Exactly. And I think that's why the Web3 space is so unique, is because we get to collab where a lot of other industries, everyone's a competitor, but Web3, everyone's, it's just so much more, fun, collaborative, and we all, help each other out.
that's what it is, right? It's a collaboration over competition. You have probably seen that on the timeline a few times, and there is a reason for it. Now, Omar, I said I wanted to come back to you for a question, a follow up on what you said, and I'm going to do that just now. But guys, everyone on the stage, you're always welcome to raise your hand if you want me to come to you for a follow up or a hot take, especially. I love those ones. So please feel free to raise your hand if you want to chime in the conversation. But Omar, coming from Disney and having a team from all the major studios, I think would be interesting to see from your mind, your point of view, how does IP building differs from the traditional Web2 model for you at Superchamps and maybe for Web3 in general?
Sure. So first of all, I mean, I learned a lot from just the diverse approaches that everyone is taking, not only to building IP, but I would say also even in how they interpret what IP is, because it obviously gives you a real insight into how there's obviously many different ways to give meaning and loyalty and sort of and commitment to something, which is what we're all trying to do when we talk about building IP. Um, for me, to be honest with you, uh, my biggest learning from my time at Disney and just in general has been that at least at Disney, the deepest IP and the deepest franchises really came from storytelling, right? That's the core of what great IP at Disney is based on. Now, the frustration that I always had at Disney was that the storytelling that the company focused on, then commercializing and instantiating across different media, traditionally came from movies, right? So Disney would make a movie, and then that movie would lay out a world that was rich and textured and created emotional connection with a large scaled audience. And then within that world now, they would light up games, they would light up rides, they would light up all other forms of immersion that could be set in that story universe. And on the flip side, the frustration I had as a game maker was that I felt that actually we were at a point where consumers, a new generation of consumers, were discovering story worlds through games and spending innumerable hours in those worlds. And, games that I built and launched had gotten hundreds of millions of players with original IP who were, and we had people spending, you know, hundreds of minutes a day actually in those story worlds, and yet turning that into a universe that we could then evolve and turn into a franchise IP that could live for decades wasn't really a priority. And so that was the frustration that brought me to wanting to do this via games, and wanting to do it via Web3 really takes the same principles that I still think, based on my background and my training, hold true, which are you have to tell great stories, and storytelling becomes the kind of origin point for great IP, because you can then have a universe that people care about, that they have an emotional connection to. And with Web3, what you can do is within that story universe, you can have player ownership to an extent that allows a community to not just care because they are interested in it, and not just care because they are immersed in it via the games, but also care because they own a piece of it, right? And so I think the principles for us remain, create a distinct and deep story universe, um, build, that can immerse people and, develop an emotional connection with them, build games for people to participate in that universe and really enjoy it. Um, and then through Web3, create assets that people can own to feel like they are part of it, and really an owner of it as well. And hopefully those are the ingredients that help us create an IP that can really last for decades.
I love when you talk about emotional connection. I think that's one of the main things that, to me, and I'm going to refer to Disney as you work there. But when I was a kid, the IP that I remember from that time are the ones, probably as you mentioned as well, from the movies, the cartoons and all that stuff, where I was having so much fun watching it, and it became part of my culture. And I think it's also interesting how it's changing in 2024. And I think games like Fortnite, for example, to talk about the big Web2 ones, are creating this very strong IP through a completely different model. And I think it's perfectly fitted to the Web3 model and what most of you here are building a game. So I think it seems like a perfect fit. Now, I want to ask you, so I'm going to pass that question around as well. But I think what's important, I mean, you're all a business at the end of the day. I think it's fair to say that you're all here to make some money. And we're not saying that in a greedy way, but if you want to keep the shop open, well, you need some money, right? It's pretty simple. So maybe, John, I'm going to start with you on this one. But, how do you think NFTs are a tool to leverage the IP and to allow you to create additional revenue stream, or maybe expand the brand beyond even digital asset with other ways of using the NFTs in question here? So yeah, let me just recap the question. How are you utilizing NFTs to create effectively IP and revenue stream at the same time at Playamber?
Yeah, I think there's different ways to look at it. So I'll separate it by timeline, right? The thing that I've always found that kills businesses is short-term money chasing. So with that context, one of the ways that we're using NFT to kind of build IP is through our grassroots creator program. The short-term goal of that is absolutely not to make money. The goal of that is to support creators on their journey and enable them to do that. Of course, we have an idea about how with creators we can actually turn that into a monetization revenue stream for them, supported by us. And clearly having millions of players of your games is going to give us a slight advantage of how we might be able to do that. Then you've got, why we're all here in gaming, that as entrepreneurs, like the interesting use cases, and some of it is still very much thesis, that NFTs can be in games. So I think we all believe that, and we see this in in Web3, like the amount of money being spent on NFTs in games is like IEP whales in Web2 on steroids. So I think there's a really interesting area there about how we deploy NFTs to deliver and discover IEP whales. I also feel really strongly in terms of on the just the consumer side that the
I think we are losing John.
I think
Am
we
I the
got
only one?
rugged. No, I
Yeah,
can't get
we're
rugged.
losing John.
I never
Well,
know. Half the time, I think it's just me, so then I don't.
man, tell me about it. Every time someone cuts off, I'm like, okay, am I getting rugged? Are they?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the joys of life, people. So it is what it is, you know. But while hopefully John comes back, let me just get a quick room reset here. If you are enjoying the space,
cost of acquisition, but two, drive higher LTV ROAS versus some of your games that don't have that layer in them. So yeah, a few different ways to look at the roles that NFTs can play in terms of both IP building but also driving revenue.
But John, I hate to break it to you, but we lost you for a solid 20 seconds here. So everything you said except the last sentence has basically vanished. So yeah, bad news, bad news. So I think we got most of the first part. So just for time constraint, I'm not gonna make you repeat it. And I love you, so I'm not gonna do that to you. But what I'm gonna do though is get a quick room reset, guys. If you're enjoying the conversation, if you're getting any value out of it, just give the space a like, a retweet, and drop your questions in the comment section. Now I'm gonna pass another question around. Guys, I really want your opinion on this, so please raise your hand, okay? But do you think having an NFT from project A, B, C, or D should entitle you to some form of revenue sharing or revenue opportunity from the project that you own, i.e., having a Play Amber should allow you to make some money effectively. Having a Neo Tokyo should allow you to generate some form of revenue from maybe their own business, etc. So difficult question to answer. I know I can see everyone is shy here to raise the hand. However, we have a hero. We have MHL. How are you? And yeah, feel free to take that one.
I mean, it depends on the promise, right? So if you were to buy an NFT or just mint the NFT with the promise of having something back, then in that case, that's what you should expect, right? Most of the NFTs actually are art driven, and instead of being or community driven instead of being revenue driven, right? So, in my opinion, the first thing you should do prior to purchasing that NFT, it's making some due diligence yourself and make sure that you're gonna get the value back, right? And that's the short answer actually, and I don't have a better one.
Yeah, that's fair enough. There's no right or wrong answer, by the way, for this. It's completely open. So, I think John got rugged. He said he coming back. So let me just get him on stage, and we're gonna pass the hand. I think Arc X was the second one to raise the hand, and then we'll go to Valerie after.
Yeah, I think I do definitely agree. I mean, just even the promise of NFT as a technology is so important, and I think it's this is a little off topic, but it's like obviously going to be so influential in so many different things, whether real estate or RWAs and who knows, even things like voting and stuff like that. So these things are incredibly important. So I think just using them even in a place of even eventually 20 years from now, stocks, the ownership of stocks and equity and all that stuff will all be on chain. So definitely think that's very fair core functionality, and we should continue to push on it. Obviously, the tricky thing comes with the promise of the utility to make sure that it's very clear and what people are going to expect and everything like that. I also think something that's really cool and more unique in the Web3 space is user community driven economies as well. And yes, you can buy excuse me, you can buy an NFT and sit back and hope that the project goes to the moon. But I also love the NFTs that's like you're part of the whether it's a DAO or you're part of the actual community, and so you can put work into and benefit from that directly. I think that stuff's really, really important. And obviously, we're trying to do that with like community stores, so you can design your own jewelry collection, post it, and then make money when people buy it. So like even things like that, of if we can mix and intermingle utility and community, I think that stuff is going to bode really well for us.
Yeah, interesting point here. I have a follow up, but I want to first go to Valeria Games, and I'll come back to you in a minute. Valeria, your turn.
Yeah, I think having a direct like revenue shares, some type of thing with your NFT when it's attached to projects with anything more than like 1,000 collection size is probably the worst thing you can do for an NFT, like utility wise, if you have it directly attached to it, and that's like the only thing that the NFT gets, just because it could limit the upside to the NFT, right? If you have the exact amount of revenue that like the company's going to get, and then that much is going to be given to the NFT, you're essentially putting a fixed price on what that NFT is worth, and the upside is very, very limited. And then when you get to collection sizes that are like 5,000, 10,000, and then you cut the pie up like a million times, it may not be as much as people think it is, right? So versus if you have it more so towards just like part of the IP, part of the brand, part of that side of things, the like a Pokemon card, like a Pokemon collectible, right? Like it could go up to like infinite prices. There's no fixed value that it's worth. It's more like speculation can play into a role. It's more like collectible value. It's more about how much people appreciate it. It's more about how much you've grown the IP, you've grown the brand, how popular things are. Versus if you have the utility directly fixed to a certain amount, it actually limits the upside. It is probably like one of the worst things you can do for your NFT. So I don't know, that might be controversial, but I think it's actually a lot better when you have it more so just as a collectible, just because the upside is limitless that way, and people actually can't calculate exactly how much this should be worth. And then because when you do that, when you break down those numbers, it's probably not as high as those 100 ETH floor prices we saw in 2021.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, do you want to add something, Arcix?
No, I think that, well, the benefit of the NFT space is like we can have our cake and eat it too. So you could have a really badass PFP that has multiple utilities, and that revenue share, or APY could be just like a component of it. For instance, I have a CyberKong Genesis, and like I love that thing. I've had it for a couple of years now, and every day it just gives me bananas. And right now the bananas are sub-dollar, but they dip, they pop up now and then. So and it comes with so much other utility and gaming within the CyberKong ecosystem. So again, totally agree. It's like, why not? Versus they have passes or tickets, NFTs, and it's like those things are really cool. But again, if the thing doesn't pan out, it's like you just have this little ticket sitting there. It doesn't have any kind of more IP around it. I think that, again, to tie it back to the IP, that's why it's so important to have these characters that might have multiple utilities that come along with them.
And just to add on another point, I think either way, if you have it sort of based around the IP, you're successful either way, because you're not gonna have a high like revenue generating company that can give those like quote unquote dividends to all the NFT holders if the IP doesn't grow, if the IP uh doesn't blow up, if it's not super popular. Because if it is generating so much revenue that it can be given as a dividend, like sort of payout to all your NFT holders, that means it's probably making a lot of money, and it's extremely popular, and a lot of people are playing it, a lot of people are engaging with the IP, so that collectible will naturally be worth a ton of value anyways. So you don't need to even necessarily give out that dividend, because if you're successful to a point where that dividend would be worth anything, the collectible part of it will be worth even more.
Yeah, interesting takes from both of you here. I appreciate. Now I want to move to, I guess, a slightly different thing here. I think I don't remember exactly who, but maybe a few of you mentioned obviously the importance of community when it comes to not just IP but NFT collections as a whole and Web3 startup. So maybe, you know what, Omar, I'm gonna, actually, Neo Tokyo, I'm gonna come to you because I may be wrong, but I believe you probably have the oldest NFT collection on the panel right now. So maybe I'm wrong, but I believe so. So the question here for you is, how have you grown through the community, and how important is it? Because I think the main difference to me when it comes to community building in Web3 as opposed to Web2 is that it starts from the inside out in Web3, i.e., the community is built, or is the build of the community starts before the actual business and startup really starts to make money effectively, i.e., pre-mint in general. You start to build a community. Whereas in Web2, it's the opposite, right? You release your film, you release your game, and then you build a community from that point onward, right? So, as a pretty OG NFT collection, how important is it for you to build your community? And I guess, what are the best do's and don't do of a community building approach focused?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. And yes, our community is pretty old. We just had a party a few days ago for our 3 years anniversary. So that was a big party. Unfortunately, couldn't make it there, but lots of friends there who had a great time. Uh, for us, building the community, it's very, very important. And I'd say we have two approaches. The first one is a collective building part of it, a collective process where me, for example, as a council member, I am in charge of a few responsibilities such as vetting a few of these proposals coming out to us from Web3 projects such as gaming or applications. And so that's a very, very important part because we want to make sure that projects that are partnering up with us, they have that credibility, they have that value to bring back to the community, because if you don't bring nothing back to the community will leave us, right? And the second approach, I'd say it's more on the educational part. Neotokyo offers a lots of services, I'd say, such as the podcast, the newsletter, the merch, for example. And so we keep the community very much engaged on the educational part, because when you build a community, it's not just a matter of building the project itself, but also the community members on an individual basis. Because you want to make sure these guys are well educated. You want to make sure these guys know what they're buying in. Because let's be honest, these NFTs and the big ones, they don't come cheap. So you want to make sure that when somebody purchases that NFT, that person will stick around for a very long time, because that's also part of the IP, right? You don't want flippers. You want to make sure that people are coming to your community, they're going to be sticking around and learning something from you. So this is pretty much the approach Neotok had in the past years. And it has been quite successful, actually, because we have good numbers. We have a great engagement with our community. We have a lots of projects that are launching within the walls. We're talking about more than 100 projects now. So very proud of it. And yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, and also I want to ask, as a follow-up question to that, I know, and maybe you can give us a 30-second synopsis or recap of what that is, but I know you have some sort of like private group or like founders group with either founders or project, which is kind of like a hub for builders in the space, right? And from what I know, it is quite difficult to get into that group. And how do you think that helps build maybe not the IP to the masses, but maybe at least in our niche, in our Web3 space, to be regarded as one of those hubs where a lot of smart people gather together effectively?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, a little bit of history here. So, we have actually two collections, the first season and the second season, right? The first season is the one that has a lower supply, so higher price, right? And that is the S1 citizen. And in order to get that one, it's pretty simple. You just go and purchase that NFT. Now, with that, you get access both to the chat for the S2s and the S1. Now, if that S1 is a special one, and this is a supply limited to 300, that's called an elite citizen. So you have further chats, which are private within these 300 citizens. Over time, though, we had lots of founders and executives of projects coming into the community. And so we thought, you know what, in order for us to bring some value back to them, let's connect these people together. Let's make sure they're going to be connecting together, right? And so we created this section basically the founder section into our Discord channel, where if you are a founder or an executive of a big and important Web3 project, then you're going to be invited there. The simplest way to get access to it is by purchasing one of the NFTs, and then you apply for it. Once we have vetted you, once we have made sure that you are who you are claiming to be, then you're gonna jump in that chat, and that is, in my opinion, the hottest chat we have in the community, because of one simple reason. It's direct to founders. It's a great funnel, in my opinion. I use it very often. I read a lot there, and there are quite some founders very, very interesting on the space. But the actual most important part of it is that we understood that these founders, they don't have the time to engage that much with the community, right? And so we are preparing and we are doing activities with founders and making sure that they have that little time, perhaps even just once per week or once per month, to engage with community members. And that's great, actually, because it proves that NeoTokyo have a solid brand, because I'd say every month we perform big community spaces in our Discord, and we bring in some big founders. Recently we had the founder of Atlas. So the community was very, very happy for it, and we keep doing that, because actually that's what we want. We want to engage with important people in the space that can perhaps teach us something.
That's a very interesting approach, and I like how you're getting those founders involved without getting too much of their time consumed as well. I think that's a very smart approach. Okay, so we are about 5-6 minutes before the end of the space. So one thing I like to do when I have so many smart people on space is get their advices, and that is what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to start with you, Omar. So my question for you all today is, Omar, if you had to give an advice to a new founder or a young founder looking to build a strong IP through NFTs, what do you think they should focus on? What are the key pillars they should focus on?
I think as I think the diversity of people on this panel has demonstrated. I think there's many different approaches that can work. And so I think the best advice to a new founder would be to find the skill set or the sort of unique value proposition that they can offer a community that is special and distinct and different and well suited to their backgrounds. In our case, that was storytelling through a game ecosystem, and ownership of an NFT representing value in that, and membership in that ecosystem is, in the case of an NFT, the value proposition that we can offer that's authentic to us, that builds on what we know how to do, and that because of that is something that we believe we can do really, really well and offer something unique and special to the universe. But as we've seen from others on the panel, there are other sources of value as well. From, in the case of NeoTokyo, membership in an elite community of builders and doers and learners that then the NeoTokyo community and can offer as a unique proposition. So I think find what you are uniquely suited to offer, ensure that it is special and distinct and authentic to you, and also valuable, obviously, to your community, and then double down, triple down on doing it to the best of your ability.
I love that advice. Just to recap, it is the advice from Omar: find the skill set suited to your background and keep building on that. Valeria, I'm going to come to you as well. Same question. One advice you would give
no,
to...
I was just waving because I have to hop off real quick.
All right. Goodbye then. Thank you. We appreciate you, and I'll see you soon, man.
Thank you for having me.
To someone else, but Arkex, you've got some emojis going, so I'm coming to you. I know you're listening. So one advice you would give to a young founder looking to build an IP?
It's so much. I wish we had more time, but yeah, there's so much, so much to share. Just of what I've learned in the last few years too. Just going through this and building something. But I think really figuring out what the core value proposition.
I think we're getting rugged again, or
oh, no, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes,
check?
we can hear you. Yep, you can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, just saying, I think figuring out the core value proposition of, what makes your project unique, what makes it different, what's going to make it stick around too, because, whether we like it or not, I want to say, WAGMI and stuff, like you really have to have a both unique IP and kind of vision for the project to make it last over a long period of time. And not just throw stuff at the wall and say, hey, we're going to do everything. We're going to do, these 10 different completely separate. We're going to have a game. We're going to have a product line. We're going to do this, this, and this. I think really sitting down and figure out, what inspires you, what you're passionate about, and leaning into those things and really building something special around that unique experience. I really think it does come back to UX, like the user experience of the community members, the customers, whether you're a game or an apparel line or an art project, figuring out that core value proposition and leaning into that, I think is going to take you a really long way. And again, it has to be something you're passionate about. Even if you see something that, hey, I want to do, oh my god, because trust me, if you're someone who wants to be a founder or wants to build something, we're all excitable people and we will get obsessed. I remember as a kid, I'd be obsessed with dinosaurs and be obsessed with Legos, the next week and stuff like that. So you have to really stick with something, and you have to have a deep passion for it to know that you can keep going on it for years at a time. So I think that's something that's really important as well.
I think that's a great advice. As the say goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, so you've got to stick to it long enough so that it actually takes off. That's a really, really good advice, not just for Web3 or IP building, just for life in general as well. Okay, we have a hand up here with MLMHL. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the same advice I gave to a client of mine a few days ago while developing his tokenomics. And this advice is actually a question. And the question is, who is your target audience? So once you have identified who you are targeting in the market, which can be gamers, which can be I don't know, farmers or artists or whatever that is. Once you have targeted that, then you know what kind of brand you're going to build. Okay, if you go, for example, and see Web3 applications, they kind of have the similar brand, the similar IP, right? Because they are targeting a similar audience. So that's pretty much the approach you should take, and that's actually the first thing you should take into account when you are building your own brand.
Good one as well. Thank you for sharing. Okay, we are at the end of the hour, so just to be respectful of everyone's time, we are going to wrap it up. But first and foremost, I want to thank everyone in the audience for taking the time. 1 hour of your day on this space means the world to us. And obviously, everyone on the panel, fantastic takes with a lot of smart people. So we appreciate you. And last but not least, Omar from Super Champs. I'll give you the closing words as per usual. Anything you want to say to the audience or the panel, the mic is yours.
No, just want to thank everybody for joining us today and sharing all your insights on brand building, IP building, and the various strategies and tactics there. I think there's a lot to learn here and continue to grow from, because I think it's something that we never stop doing and building. But to me, I think the biggest takeaway is, build on your strengths and what you can do better than anyone else in the universe. So very much appreciate that message and everyone's time and energy today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this conversation. And for everyone in the audience, we'll be back same place, same time next week. So make sure to tune in. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Permanece a la escucha. Permanece a la escucha.
12 de la noche en La Habana, Cuba.
11 de la noche en San Salvador, El Salvador.
11 de la noche en Managua, Nicaragua.
Me gustan los aviones, me gustas tú. Me gusta viajar, me gustas tú. Me gusta la mañana, me gustas tú. Me gusta el viento, me gustas tú. Me gusta soñar, me gustas tú. Me gusta la mar, me gustas tú. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je ne sais pas. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je ne sais plus. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je suis perdu. ¿Qué hora la lluvia, me gustas tú. Me gusta volver, me gustas tú. Me gusta marihuana, me gustas tú. Me gusta colombiana, me gustas tú. Me gusta la montaña, me gustas tú. Me gusta la noche. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je ne sais pas. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je ne sais plus. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je suis perdu. Mi corazón, mi corazón. Me gusta la cena, me gustas tú. Me gusta la vecina, me gustas tú. Me gusta su cocina, me gustas tú. Me gusta camelar, me gustas tú. Me gusta la guitarra, me gustas tú. Me gusta el reggae, me gustas tú. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je ne sais pas. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je ne sais plus. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je suis perdu. Mi corazón, mi corazón. Me gusta la canela, me gustas tú. Me gusta el fuego, me gustas tú. Me gusta menear, me gustas tú. Me gusta la Coruña, me gustas tú. Me gusta Malasaña, me gustas tú. Me gusta la castaña, me gustas tú. Me gusta Guatemala, me gustas tú.